I just wanted to share someone with you today, and that is Katherine DiGiovanni of Neatnik Organizing. She is both a 1 degree of separation friend of mine and also a master organizer. And I think because of all the time we've been spending in our homes over the last 1.5 years, it's probably a perfect time for her services. So Katherine, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted that we could make time for this and to talk to you and your audience.
Let's just get started. Let's get into it. What do organizers do?
We're home organizers, and we support people to be able to focus on their life instead of their stuff. People have a tendency to collect too many things or have things all over the place because we have such busy, stressful lives. And we help people not only reduce their items, reduce their clutter, but help create systems that can help them live in a more calm, functional way.
The systems, I imagine, are key, right? Like you don't just want it to be perfect about 10 minutes after you leave. You want it to help them along the way.
Absolutely. I like to say progress over perfection. I think people have a tendency to get very micro and worry about all this granular stuff when it's really more about like a big picture and things that you can maintain. In fact, our tagline is get organized, stay organized.
How does your service work? Tell us what happens.
Well, typically somebody contacts us and we would set up a consultation call, which is free of charge. And we would talk to the person about, and sometimes it would be a FaceTime call so they can show us around their house. And we would just talk about what the problem is, what's bothering them. You know, sometimes it's a specific category of items like photographs, or sometimes it's, you know, my playroom or my home office. And so we would do a consultation and talk about that and kind of map out a way forward. And then we come to your house and we would start working with you, usually in 2 to 4 hour increments.
So how involved are they in the process? I mean, is this the kind of thing where I'm going on vacation and I leave you in my house, or?
Sometimes it depends on the person. I would say probably, you know, 75% of the time we are working on our own, you know, with consulting the client here and there. What about this? What do you think about this? You know, they might come in for some consultation. But sometimes the client is working alongside with us. If we're going through clothes, you know, going through closet, we really need the client to look at those items, photographs, you know, a sentimental items. Sometimes we really do need to work with the client. So it just depends on the person and the items that we're looking at.
Okay. And so is there homework? It sounded like you were starting to say that they have to do some things because you're coming back.
Sometimes people will say, oh, I'll go through that box. Okay. And especially if I know the client, I might know that they might not.
Okay.
We're all like this. I'm definitely not putting myself as somebody who doesn't procrastinate. But if I say, well, I'm coming back next Tuesday and I'm going to need you to have like started on that box by the time I come back, you know, people might be a little more inclined to do that.
Great. So you're an accountability partner, it sounds like.
Definitely. And we do offer virtual services at times. And that is the main, I think, benefit of a virtual service, because you're doing the work yourself, but we're kind of coaching you through it. And, you know, there are lists of assignments of what you need to accomplish before the next call.
Got it. So who would you say is your typical client? What's the ideal typical client?
We do not have a typical client. We deal with everybody from people who are pregnant and anticipating babies, people with newborn babies, people with children transitioning, to different kind of phases of life, people moving, people downsizing. You know, we're sort of there at almost every transition.
Renovations are part of that too.
Oh yes, absolutely.
We're seeing a lot of that right now. That's why I bring it up. So
people preparing to renovate, you know, moving into storage, wanting to declutter and reduce some of their items that are going to be going into storage. We also consult on the actual organizational kind of flow of their renovation designs. So if you're thinking about built-in storage, or you're thinking about how, a mudroom is going to function, or how a kitchen is going to function, we consult on that too. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Very helpful. I'm trying to understand how people know it's time to hire you if they're not having a major change like a move. How should they identify themselves?
I mean, if you have spaces in your homes that cause you a lot of stress, even if you're not conscious of it a lot, if you've got a room that's just has been a dumping ground for you, which many of us are guilty of these things at times in our lives, and you're not getting to it, you might want to hire an organizer. When my mom died, I cleared out she lived in like a 2-bedroom condo, and I had to clear it all out and sell it. And I moved a lot of her things, even some things I didn't need, into this kind of extra room. It's actually the room I'm sitting in right now, this extra room in my house. And it sat there for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months before I could really even face it. It was just too traumatic. And I hired an organizer to help me go through it. We have many recurring clients who've hired us time and time again. And we also this year launched what we're calling a subscription service, where you can hire us to come a certain number of hours a month. So it could be weekly, it could be every 2 weeks, once a month, to just come and refresh and keep working on, especially those pain point spaces that keep collecting the clutter. And I like to think of it like, hiring a personal trainer or a nutritionist, or it's like, you kind of have to keep going with things as like a lifestyle, rather than just like, oh, they're going to clean off my island once and I'm going to change and I'm never going to go back to that way. It's like, that's not really realistic for most of us. I just don't think you need to be ashamed of it. It's not like a personal shortcoming that your kitchen island, is not organized, or your closet isn't organized. These aren't things that come naturally to a lot of people, and they are, things you need to learn, habits you need to develop, and sometimes that's not in the cards for people. We have a website. It's Neatnik, Neatnik DC.com. And that's also our Instagram handle. So if you want to go kind of see some pictures of our work and a lot of our tips, that's also on Instagram and Facebook. It's Neatnik DC.
This is so helpful. I really appreciate your time, Catherine. And I hope that some of my clients at least feel like they're comfortable enough to come to you and say, I need help, because I think that's probably the first thing that can come down to, and then you'll help them assess what you can do for that.
You too. Thank you.